Magda Cancorla. Daine míad comhrón leis a teaghlaigh fuair in ína mórtha bás ar an Ileáin de turú COVID-19. Tá ag smaoinemh ar na naoine atá ag follingt an vírus, go mala siúd atá ag trid I gcoinne an vírus gach lá. Bhuail an ghearcéin ar dír go trom, de réir mar osclóméid ar dír agus ar nealagar a thógáil againn. Tá deis againn ar socaí a athbhain lú sa chuí go mimfí ar seránig buntáistí as comá leis na glúine a teochas in our dhia. Cancorla, once again our thoughts are with the families of loved ones who've lost their lives to COVID-19. As of last night, 1,571 people have died in our state and 494 more have died in Northern Ireland. In total, 24,315 people in the Republic of Ireland have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Some 87% have now made a full recovery and others are well on the way. This week we have seen the lowest number of daily deaths and cases and the lowest numbers of people in our ICUs since March. While we continue to mourn those who have died, we will never get used to the daily loss of life. We take some comfort in the fact that the trend is going in the right direction. Transmission in the community has been effectively suppressed, which was the strategy from the beginning, and we're now working to suppress it in other settings and clusters. On Monday, we began the reopening of our country with phase 1 of the relaxation of restrictions. So far, it's going well. Lots of people are back to work, more shops are open, friends and family within 5 kilometres are able to meet outdoors again. There has been broad compliance with the 5 rules and the 4 steps. So I want to say thank you to the Irish people. We have shown our capacity to reorganise our lives, to protect the welfare of all, and it is a remarkable demonstration of solidarity and care for each other. However, we need to stay vigilant. We really won't know until the first week of June whether the easing of the restrictions has increased the reproduction number, or to what extent. So Cabinet will make a decision on the next steps on Friday, June 5th, on foot of advice from NPHET. I know that some other countries are opening faster, but every country's circumstances are different, and we stand over the slow and steady approach. If things go well, it can be accelerated, but we simply cannot make that call at the moment. Cancorla, as of midnight, the 18th of May, 295,626 tests have been carried out. We will exceed 300,000 today or tomorrow. Over the past week, almost 37,000 tests were carried out, and 932 of these were positive, giving a positivity rate of 2.5%, a decrease on last week, but still a little too high. Testing has ramped up to meet the scale of this crisis, and this week the HSE reached its target of having the capacity to test 15,000 people every day, with capacity of up to 100,000 per week. As the Chief Medical Officer said on Tuesday, we need to be fluid. We have more than sufficient capacity right now, but that might change, and we have to keep alert to changing circumstances. We've agreed a strategy which is on target to deliver this week an average turnaround time from swab to result of between 1 and 3 days in the vast majority of instances. There's also been a remarkable scale-up in contact tracing by the HSE, as was reported to the Special Committee on COVID on Tuesday. The HSE says the median turnaround time for giving someone a positive result and commencing contact tracing is now just over 1 day and is improving all the time. So I want to extend my thanks of the Government and this House to all of the people who are involved in testing and contact tracing. The work you do is essential, it's life-saving, and it's enabling us to reopen our country and economy. So thank you very much. Cancorla, work has already begun on preparedness for a possible second wave in late autumn or winter, coinciding with the regular flu season. On Monday, Minister Harris announced the decision to make the flu vaccine available free of charge to all children aged between 2 and 12 this year, and to all of those defined as at risk, aged between 6 months and 69 years. And as we know, everyone over 70 already has access to the vaccine without charges. I believe we can save hundreds of lives this winter, and every winter, by a much greater uptake of the flu vaccine. This matters now more than ever, as we need to avoid a second wave of COVID-19 coming at the same time as the flu season. It's particularly important that uptake by healthcare workers is much better than in the past. This pandemic teaches us that there is no excuse not to be vaccinated. We've experienced a small taste of what the world was like before vaccines, and it hasn't been good. We're also examining ways to retain some of the additional critical care and bed capacity that we've gained in recent weeks. The Department of Health has established an independent expert panel to make recommendations ensuring protective COVID-19 response in our nursing homes is planned for the longer term, given that we may be living alongside this virus for quite some time. We need to know how we can better shield nursing homes in the second wave, if that's at all possible. Ceann Comhairle, everyone in this House understands that coronavirus has dealt a severe shock to our economy. This has deep social consequences as well, including record-breaking levels of unemployment and lower living standards for many. There are also some long-term sequelae that are now becoming apparent. For example, due to social distancing, the cost of providing public services and infrastructure projects may rise. It might cost us more to do less. And many parts of our economy might never look quite the same again, sometimes for the better, but also for the worse. So the recovery will not be easy. And as this is going to be a global recession, an export-led recovery driven by agri-food, tourism and multinationals like we experienced 10 years ago is unlikely. Brexit will further complicate matters. As I said a few months ago, Brexit is not over. It's only half-time. Or perhaps more accurately, half-time has just ended. On the upside, we have not been shut out of the money markets as we were 12 years ago. And at least in part, due to the policies of the outgoing government and the government that preceded it, we retain the confidence of the European institutions and capital markets. In short, this time we can afford to borrow to reflate our economy at low interest rates and with little conditionality. We're doing so, and we should continue to do so. I think we all agree that substantial borrowing by the state will be necessary to cushion the blow to our economy and society. We will have a very substantial budget deficit this year and a deficit and exchequer borrowing requirement for several years to come, leading to increased national debt. We will use this borrowed money to, 1, provide income support for those who have lost their jobs, 2, get businesses open again, 3, provide retraining and education opportunities for our fellow citizens who are now without employment, and 4, to stimulate economic activity through investment in public housing, healthcare, childcare, transport, regional development, renewable energy and retrofit, as well as the intelligent use of tax policies to stimulate economic activity. We should continue to borrow until the economy returns to sustained growth. From then on, we should seek to reduce borrowing and our deficit and seek to achieve a broadly balanced budget again within a few years. We do not need to be the best boys in the fiscal class, but we should seek to run deficits similar to those of our peers in Northern Europe, not much larger ones. This is a sensible and sustainable thing to do. It's what Minister Donoghue is doing, and I totally endorse that approach. Ceann Comhairle, having said all this, I am concerned that there is a growing narrative and belief that we can as a country borrow cheaply forever and that this is the solution to all our problems. It's the free money argument, and it's coming from the right as well as the left. But there is no such thing as free money. Borrowed money, debt, has to be serviced. That is, the interest on it paid every year. This will be a new and recurring charge in our public finances, and it will have to be paid. Debt also has to be refinanced or rolled over when it matures. Some will say this doesn't matter because that's a problem for someone else in 10 or 20 or 30 years' time. I don't agree with that attitude. That someone is going to be us, and if not us, our successors, children and grandchildren. Furthermore, we should not make the mistake of assuming that being able to borrow cheaply now means we'll be able to borrow cheaply in 6 months or years' time. The world has changed so much in the last 6 months, and we'd be naive to think that it couldn't change again, and quickly. If conditions do change, the countries with the biggest deficits and the largest debts will be the first to feel the ill wind. And we need to make sure that isn't us, because the consequences for our society would be grave. Even if this never happens, we need to be honest with the public about the consequences of prolonged low interest rates and increased money supply. Yes, there are lots of upsides, like cheaper mortgages and business loans, but there are many downsides too. Prolonged low interest rates hit savers, mainly older people. Investment in financial assets like pensions and enterprises is discouraged in favour of physical assets like land and property. We know this already in Ireland, given the poor performance of pension funds in recent years, while investors piled cash into development land and apartments, thus driving the cost of housing upwards and exacerbating both the housing crisis and the pension time bomb. Prolonged and excessive increases in the money supply can also lead to inflation. We haven't seen high inflation for a very long time, but that doesn't mean we won't see it again. We're way overdue for it in many ways. And inflation devalues the spending power of people on fixed incomes. People who don't have the liberty to increase their fees or raise their prices. That is, people on welfare, pensioners and workers. Some have suggested consols, issuing perpetual bonds. That shouldn't be ruled out, but it is clear that we would have to pay a much higher interest rate on such debt than on 10 or 20-year money. This is a fact that can't be escaped from. Ceann Comhairle, there are no easy answers, no risk-free or perfect solutions, no policies or strategies that will produce only winners. So the next government, whenever it takes office, will have to sail the ship of state through the hardest of rocks and the toughest of hard places. It can be done, but it won't be easy, and at all times we need to be honest with the public, offering frank answers, not easy ones, and real solutions, not fake ones. As always, I look forward to hearing the comments, observations and questions of members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taoiseach.